All right, let's see. Never conventional. Let's see. One is so brave that he is never disturbed by something unexpected. No one. Start over. This is by a quote by Julius Caesar. No one is so brave that he is not disturbed by something unexpected. The unconventional is generally the province of the young, who are not comfortable with conventions and take great pleasure in flouting them. The danger is that as we age, we need more comfort and predictability and lose our taste for the unorthodox. This is how Napoleon declined as a strategist. He came to rely more on the size of his army and on its superiority in weapons than on novel strategies and fluid maneuvers. He lost his taste for the spirit of strategy and succumbed to the growing weight of his accumulating years. You must fight the psychological aging process even more than the physical one, for the mind, full of stratagems, tricks, and fluid maneuvers, will keep you young. Keep the wheels turning and churning the soil so that nothing settles and clumps into the conventional daily law. Make a point of breaking the habits you have developed, of acting in a way that is contrary to how you have operated in the past. Practice a kind of unconventional warfare on your own mind. That's from the 33 Strategies of War, strategy number 24. Take the line of least expectation, the ordinary, extraordinary strategy. Interesting. I like that last line. What was it? Practice a kind of unconventional warfare on your own mind. That was the process that Ed Norton's character went through in the movie Fight Club. Yep. And that's where the imaginary character of Brad Pitt, Tyler Durden, came from. Ed Norton was at war with himself. And through that process, he conjured up an alter ego known as Tyler Durden. I guess I kind of did that. I went to war with my own mind and I eradicated the old and replaced it with the new. And that's the person you hear talking right now. Alright. It's Friday. I went half the day yesterday thinking it was Wednesday. And I heard somebody say something. I was like, wait, what's today? And I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Wednesday. I'm way off. Still kind of waking up. Oh, of all the dreams for me to remember, normally I dream all night and I wake up not remembering any of it. I had a dream. It was weird. I had a dream, and it was happening more than one time in this dream where guys were trying to kiss me, like trying to force themselves onto me. I was like, what the? I remember thinking in my mind as it was happening, like I was like being polite about it in my head. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not gay. This is very flattering, but I'm not gay. It's very strange. It was weird. And like these guys were really trying. I was like, nope, doing nothing. So weird. Which I'm not. It's not that experience is not foreign to me. I mean, I've never had a guy try to kiss me, but I've had plenty of gay guys in the past have conversations with me. Like, no, sorry, it's just not my thing. That's funny. Oh, and then I was having a conversation with my dad yesterday. What was it about? I was telling him something that I had heard that's true, that at one point had been denied for a while. And then he brought up the term conspiracy theory. And I was telling him, that whole phrase conspiracy theory, that's propaganda. I was telling him that phrase was coined in order to smear certain topics and make them taboo and to taint the respectability of anybody who might be talking about these topics. I said, and then I was telling him a lot of things in the past that were once conspiracy theory are now with just factual history. And I gave him a whole list of different events, like Operation Paperclip and the Gulf of Tonkin and Watergate, and all these bunch of different things in history that he would have heard of, some that he would not. I was like, that term is meaningless. This like that's why they use it. And then he was like, yeah, but there's like thousands of conspiracy theories. And I said, that's a tactic also. I said, that's called muddying the water. I said, that's a propaganda tactic. I said, you just flood the information landscape with so much trash that now you won't be able to identify what's real and what's not. So that's how propaganda goes. That's the way it works. That's intentional. And you have crazy people out there just spouting all kinds of weird stuff. And then you start saying, yeah, and then they're even trying to make us believe that there's aliens. So that's all part of it. They're trying to stretch the boundaries of the astounding and the impossible. Keep making you look up so you don't start looking around. That's all part of the propaganda machine. And then he changes the subject. He's like, yeah. He's like, but I don't live in fear of these things. Like I said, it's not about being afraid. It's about being informed. And then what I tell him, I said, something like, it's about better to be informed than unaware or something like that. I forget what the phrasing was, but he said it back like he prefers the other way, better informed than and unaware. And I told him, well, that's where the phrase "ignorance is bliss" comes from. Like, you can't live like that. And in my mind, I'm like, I meant to say this, but the conversation kind of ebbed away. I left it at that. With the whole, that's what that means. Ignorance is bliss. Well, I was thinking about it a little later, and I was in the context of him. I'm like, that's the truth has a certain weight that you must be responsible to bear in order to know it, and that's the whole reason why he is the way he is when it comes to like his religious faith, his Christianity, and his belief in Jesus. I mean, there's a certain weight that you have to bear, knowing that truth, and he knows that, but he doesn't see the corollary between that and the truth of the secular world. It's the same thing. Let this guy go around. A bunch of trucks right now. Interesting. These guys are on the move too. You know, it's funny. I think when it comes to these conversations with my dad, I think on a certain level, like, he fancies himself like an authority when it comes to certain topics. And I think because he's like the elder, he thinks that he knows more, which is typical. I mean, that's not out of the ordinary. And it's interesting to have a conversation with him because you can see, like, when it's not going the way he intends, like, he switches the topic. Like, he'll latch on to like a certain word that I might use, or a certain idea that's kind of adjacent to what the topic of the actual conversation was. I even told him that when I was talking to him, something that he said. I said, that's irrelevant to this conversation. I said, that's a side topic. And if you're gonna have like a coherent interchange of ideas and mental expressions, that's got to stay on topic. But he does that a lot. Like the other day, like yesterday, I was on the way to work. I was making a video of my microphone died. I was in the middle of talking about a different conversation I had with him, and he started like quizzing me on God and all that stuff. In my head, as I was talking to him, like, what are you doing? I'm like, why is this turning into like a little test? He was asking me stuff. I forget what now. Oh, I remember one of the questions was like, it was something to the effect of like how, like, something like, if man is like, has the sinful nature, something like, what is it that allows him entrance into the kingdom of heaven? Something like that. And I know he was trying to get me to like But he was like, it was a question pointed directly at me. Like it wasn't a vague question. It was like about like me. And I know what he was trying to get me to say. It was like, because most people would answer like something like, I'm a good person, and and I believe in God. It was like there's nothing, and I know that there were answers like from his perspective, there's nothing you could do or say that would earn you entrance into heaven. It's like only through the mercy and grace of, and the belief in Jesus, the Son of God, died on the cross. But basically, it was mercy, or the mercy and grace of God that allows that. And then I think that he asked it like a different way, because like he didn't get the answer that he thought I was going to get, so he asked it a different way. Something like, I forget how he worded it. How did he word it? Darn it, I don't remember. I forget the phrasing of the question, but I remember just that my answer was just 2 words: mercy and grace. That's it. And then the conversation kind of ended for a while. And then like hours later, or like an hour or so later, just sent me like a text. It was like, to be continued. I was like, okay. I just sent him like a heart and a flower. But it's funny because like with him, it's like it's an ego thing. I think like he likes to. It makes him feel good to like be in a position where he's telling people what's right and what's wrong, and that's not good. That's not a healthy thing spiritually to be like that. And I know there's been times where I have like I approach it different when it comes to like, if I have information that I know is correct, like I'll put it out there, or I'll tell people like, no, that's actually not accurate, and then I'll like say whatever it is that it is, and mostly it's like either like news, politics, or like current events, things that are maybe misrepresented in the media. But I don't do it from like a place of like ego, like I know better than you. So like, no, that's actually not right, and I want them to have accurate information. Like I don't want them to be inaccurate. I'm actually trying to be helpful. But with him, it's like there's like a different air of like the energy is different. And I kind of know why he's like that. Like he's really not ever been like knowledgeable in anything. Like his whole history is like he's never had any kind of level of like he's never learned anything to the point where he could feel like, man, I really know this, until he started reading the Bible, found God and all that. But now he's like turned it into something where it's like he uses it as a weapon to bolster his ego as being some sort of authority when it comes to it, like scripture. And I think when he talks to me, I think he forgets that he paid. Even told him this a couple once in a conversation. I'm like, you know, you paid for my schooling. I went to Christian schools. You paid for it. I'm not uneducated in these things. Plus, I learned about it as a child, so it was like there was a different energy for how I absorbed all that information. So when it comes out of me, it's not like an ego thing. I don't. It's not like I'm better than you. Oh, I remember one of the questions he was like, when he was like giving me this weird little quiz. One of the questions was like, well, what would you say to God as to why he should let you into heaven? That's what it was. And in my mind, as I read the question, I'm like, oh, you're looking for like a list of things for me to say as the reasons why I shouldn't go to hell and I should be in heaven. And I think my answer was something like, what did I say? It was just like 3 sentences. Something like, I'm a sinner. Uh, do with me what you will through your mercy and grace. Something like that. Just real short. That was the first question, like towards the end of that conversation. And then that's when there was like a long pause, and then he asked it in a different way. Kind of the same question, but in a different way, and that's when I just answered mercy and grace. And then that's when it was like, okay, we'll continue this later. And I come up with a better question to grill you with. Like he didn't say all that, but that's what it felt like. Be continued. Kind of like, I'm not done with you yet. That's what it felt like. I just kind of laughed to myself. That's why all these trucks are on the road. They're doing all this construction that they've been doing forever over here requires all these end dumps. There was a bunch of them. Maybe like 10 end dumps. That makes sense. Yeah, but he has this weird little way of like trying to remind me that he knows more than me, which is kind of sad because it's something we could be bonding on, and instead he's like turning it into a competition. And I'm super competitive, so if that's the road he wants to go down, it's not going to be pretty because it's not that I'm going to make him look bad, but it's like I'm just sorry you're not going to win. I'll be respectful about it, but like I said, I grew up, all my schooling was this. So that was that conversation. I thought it was interesting, especially the whole test. Another arrow. Trying to get over again? Come on. Hopefully it's a safer day on the road. On the way home yesterday, there was all kinds of car accidents. It was crazy. People were having a bad day. Kinds of construction right here too. More trucks. These are Super 10s though. They don't need the indents. Oh, that's cool. At least it's Friday. I woke up feeling groggy. I don't know why. I'm like out of it. Almost like a little hungover feeling. For no reason. Have more drink. Let's have more drink. That's the big bus. Oh, that's the sheriff's bus. Those guys haul ass. Let's see. Alright, man, the clouds are really low out here today. That's crazy. Looks like a scary movie. going back to that page I read to start this whole video, being unconventional, I tend to prefer that in all facets of my life. That's where like the freshness of life lives, in the unconventional, I think. All right. I hope that's not there when I leave today from work. It said South 5 closed. That would be going home. And then it said use detour or something. Already. And I am here. Oop. Okay. Well, that is that. Everybody have a great day. Amen.